Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Asaph Adonai, and welcome to another edition of Asaph Cafe. This is a show where every week I invite a guest, and I just play the piano, and we just talk. My guest for this show is Mr. Brad Boshart, and he's sitting here with me, and we're going to start talking and playing, just like that old Casablanca film, where they say, play it again.
Play it again,
Sam. Yeah. But I'm going to start out with the traditional Burt Bacharach's This Guy's in Love with You, which I think is going to end up being a theme song with me here. I've played it probably hundreds of times so far, and it's always fun to do it. That's one of my favorite songs to play.
Beautifully done, I might add.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just kind of a little classical spin on the songs. In fact, one of my piano teachers taught me how to take popular music and make them sound classical, like when I'm doing those little tricks. And I demonstrated this once before, like the girl from Ipanema. Normally, if you go into a hotel, it'll sound something like this. I'm sorry, let me do it again. You know, something like that. But I take all the popular songs and just embellish them a little bit to make it sound like classical music. And I was trained and taught how to do that. So I will do, to demonstrate that. Did you see the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves?
I think
Jane
I have.
Seymour?
I think I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a long time ago. But
I'll do a piece of the theme song to give you an idea what I'm talking about. See, something like that.
that was beautiful. That was very well done.
Well, thank you. So anyway, like I said, I was taught how to do that. I had to train for a whole year to be able to take any popular song and do those tricks, you know. And the funny thing about the piano, as you probably know, two people can play the same song, it'll be different. So this is just my versions. And my teacher decided, hey, let's do something different. Instead of playing it the traditional way, let's make it sound classical.
I think that's a cool look on music and making it your own.
Yeah, that's it. So I trained for a whole year to be able to do that. I can take any song like, say, Guantanamera, for example. See what I mean? See, something like that. So after a year of training, I could take any popular song if I know the basic melody and improvise my way around that and make it sound like classical music.
That's cool.
Now, and see, the funny thing, and I've told viewers before, when you play classical music, you have to memorize the fingers with each note. Like when I do that intro to Moonlight Sonata, I'm literally using the exact same fingers every time with the right hand and the left hand too, see? But with popular music, you get more liberties. You don't have to memorize note for note. Because see, in classical music, it's called rote, which you probably know, R-O-T-E, which means note for note. But in popular music, it's based on chords and scales, as you probably know that too.
Exactly.
So you have to have an extensive knowledge of chords, scales, and inversions, where you switch the order of the chords so that you can do your blues or your jazz or your, well, in my case, popular music with a classical spin. and it's fun because it's not R-O-T-E, rote. So it's a lot more fun.
Oh, of course.
It's just a different style of learning how to play the piano. That's all it is. So, but yeah, with the classics, you have to note for note. And I'll do a little piece of Chopin. I'm going to do the Prelude in E minor. You'll probably recognize it. See what I mean? Something like that. And if each time you play that, or any Chopin piece or Beethoven, it's literally the same fingers every time.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get all that freedom and liberty in classical music like you do popular music. And the best way that I've found to learn classical music is do it in sections. Little pieces, and just memorize the fingers. I'll give you an example. Suppose I was to do the minute waltz. Now, I'm not going to do it normal speed on this instrument, obviously. The keys aren't fast enough, but if you do it in slow motion, it'll be something like this. See how nice that is? And just for that introduction part, you can just do it over and over. See? Now let's get into the song. See how nice that is?
Beautiful.
And stop on that note and then just do it again, see? And you just do it about 1,000,000 times, see? And you can just do that for like a half hour straight, just up to that point, for example, when you're first learning it, and slow it down even more. See how nice that is?
Very melodic.
Mm-hmm. And then it sinks into your mind eventually, see? And you can take any of those classical pieces and just break them up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that, in my opinion, is the best way to learn classical music, since you got to use the same fingers every time.
Right.
Just get used to it. And you know, like this part here, you'll start noticing what fingers with your left and your right hand, for example. Stuff like that. And eventually, after about 1,000,000 times, you'll get used to it.
You have it down pat.
Yeah. And I had a friend of mine who played Carnegie Hall. He said the best way to practice, do it slow, and you'll automatically be able to do it quick. You don't need that silly metronome going tick, 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 and drive you crazy and hypnotic and whatever.
Oh man, I was in the music. I was in the music business for a little bit, and we'd go in the studio, and the drummers had a hard time getting the beat to the metronome.
Yeah.
And it's very
You
difficult.
don't need that silly metronome. I mean, I could see it if you just want to increase your inner ear for a rhythmic thing. But I agree with this concert pianist friend of mine. I don't want to mention his name and embarrass him, but the best way to do it is do it slowly.
Right.
You do anything slow long enough, and it'll automatically come. It's just like if I were to teach you how to say Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. You wouldn't start that off quickly. You wouldn't go, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, a peck of pickled peppers, Peter Piper picked. You'd
No.
never learn it.
No.
But if you do it slowly, Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers, Peter Piper picked it. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Where's a peck of pickled peppers, Peter Piper picked? I had to practice that. But that's a crude analogy of practicing the piano.
Was it the Karate Kid, wash on,
Yeah.
wash off, slow?
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, the Karate Kid. That's a great example. Yeah, Mr. Miyagi's like,
Mr.
sandy
Miyagi.
floor.
Oh.
You remember that? And he just couldn't understand. And all of a sudden, you remember that scene when Mr. Miyagi goes after him, and all of a sudden he's just automatically
he's got it.
blocking punches.
Yeah.
That's a crude analogy, but that's the same principle.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you're doing, you know, the Karate Kid or Peter Piper, slow motion
Or
practice.
piano licks.
Even piano licks, yeah. I mean, anything that you want to do. Even Flight of the Bumblebee. I'll do that really slow. I'll give you an idea. See how nice that is? See? I'm going to stop on that chord, but that just gives you an idea. Just do it. You just do anything slow long enough, and you'll be able to do it. Because, like, I go into these college campuses, even the university here in town, for example, and I hear these young kids in there in the practice room, and they're practicing these classical pieces, and they're practicing them at normal speed, and they're stumbling, and they're trying to learn fast. That's just not a good way to learn how to play the piano. Do it slow. Everything, do it very slow. Even when I was learning how to do Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C sharp minor, you know that triplet part?
Yeah.
I'll do it in slow motion. See? See how lovely that is? You can stop there and just do that part over and over. For example, see? And that's very lovely, see? See? Well, it's hard to do it on these kind of instruments here because the keys are so stiff. But that's the best way to practice. Slow motion practice. Any Rachmaninoff piece, whatever, you know, Flight of the Bumblebee, whatever you're practicing. And you do it slowly long enough, you'll just see it in your mind's eye. You'll automatically be able to play quickly when you have to.
One piece at a time.
Yeah. And you know, you can learn a couple pieces. If you're doing them slow, you know, just take your time. Like for 20 minutes, do a section or something. And that's how I'm able to do all my classic stuff. And another reason why it's good to practice slow, because you can retain it more
Right.
in your head. Like if a week goes by and you don't play a particular piece, it'll come back to you.
You'll have it in memory.
And getting back to that Rachmaninoff prelude in C-sharp minor, you can also practice it in chord form. I'll show you. People never notice that. See there? In chord form. I'll do it again. And what's good about that is you can see the fingers you're going to use for each chord that you're doing it. Isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I heard an actual recording of this song by a professional pianist. They had like two piano players playing it. And when they got to that, they actually did it normal speed in chord form, something like this. See how nice that is?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they did it in that part, but I mean, it's the same notes, but they did it in chord form. So if you're watching and you want to learn how to play classical music, slow motion practice. That is the best way to do it. Slow motion practice. And you know who really stressed that? Van Cliburn. Do you remember him?
I don't.
He's the concert. Well, we just lost him probably about a year or so ago, I think. But he was the concert pianist that won the very first international piano competition back in 1958, I believe, was the year.
Mm.
I call it the Olympics of the piano world, where they have piano players from all around the world that converge. And they were in Russia at that time for this very first competition. And Van Cliburn was 22 years old at the time, and he went over there and smoked the Russians. And I'm not trying to pick on the Russian people because they have fine piano players there, but I think it was during the Cold War.
Mm.
And so they were like bragging like, "Oh, nobody can beat our pianist." And so what Van Cliburn did was for like 8 to 10 hours every day, slow motion practice. Because they give you 4 years to prepare for it. You imagine sitting in front of a piano for 8 to 10 hours every day in slow motion for 4 years, nonstop, 7 days a week. You will know every nook and cranny of that song. You'll know, like if you're using a pinky with say a forefinger, for example, you'll know every inch of that song. And that's exactly how he won that competition. He prepared for it. And that's why I tell people, if you're gonna learn a piece in classics, slow motion practice. Slow motion. You're not trying to impress anybody.
Right.
So that's my advice to people who want to learn any classical piece. And that's what I do too when I'm learning a piece. And I think that's why it's so effortless for me when I do like a Moonlight Sonata or like Prelude in C. Because I do it so slow all the time, I don't have to think about it, see?
Second nature.
Yeah, it just becomes second nature, see? Isn't that pretty?
Oh, it's gorgeous. I love classical. I think it's probably the roots of most music, in my opinion. I mean,
Yeah, I think you're right.
most people would probably disagree with me, but that's what I think.
And see, I'm not even looking at the keys. I'm looking right at you, because after a while, you just, you know, like you'll see a piano player looking up. He's just thinking of the notes in his mind, you know.
Hmm?
And that's how you want it. And that's why Liberace was so fun to watch. This guy practiced and practiced and practiced and practiced, and just it was always fun to watch him on the Ed Sullivan Show or whatever show he did, because he'd wink at the camera and not even looking at the keys and just have fun with the audience.
His showmanship and his costumes.
Well, yeah.
His wardrobe was off of the hook.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's not the only one that has the flamboyant costumes and stuff. Celia Cruz, do you remember her?
Mm-hmm.
She did the Afro-Cuban salsa music, and she come out with these wigs and these gowns and stuff. It was always cool to watch.
I do remember her. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course Elvis too. You know,
Oh, Elvis, yeah.
You know, so that's just kind of fun. But see, the thing with Liberace is people just couldn't get past the rings and all that to pay attention to what he was doing.
Right. He outshined his music almost.
Yeah, well, I know this is Hollywood, and, you know, but you know, people like to be entertained.
Right.
So if you're going to entertain folks, come up with a gimmick and have fun with it.
That's it.
And just do your homework and practice.
$500,000 in diamonds on your hands helps too, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if I would go that far, but it was fun watching him.
Oh, it was fun.
again. Isn't that pretty? It's very beautiful. I missed a few notes. It's not because of me. It's these keyboards are really hard to push down when you're doing stuff like that. And that's why I don't like to do classical music on these keyboards.
Right.
I don't think they were designed for that.
Doesn't have the same tone.
No, it's just kind of monotone, just, you know.
Doesn't have the deep, lush.
Here's Claire de Lune. Watch this. See how plain it is? Missed a note there. Isn't that a beautiful chord right there?
Oh, yeah.
I'll stop right there. So, yeah, I worked on Claire de Lune for like 8 months when I was first learning it. Some songs take a long time to learn.
That was a difficult piece, was it?
Yeah.
It's
You
a
know.
beautiful piece, though.
Well, I have to refresh myself with that because I don't do that song as often, but I did work on that for 8 months when I had it down like I wanted it. Let's see. It's hard to do it on this kind of piano, so I don't want to embarrass myself, but yeah, it's a fun song. And I'm getting ready to play at the mall December 1st, so I've been preparing for it. I'll be doing the Sinatra stuff and the classical stuff and all of that.
Hey, what's Frank up to? You got any Frank Sinatra
Yeah,
there?
let's have fun. Well, let's do Night and Day.
Nice.
Night and Day.
Very well done.
Thank you. But again, these keys are just so hard to push down on these kind of instruments, so that's why I don't like to really do a lot of classical music because it's just hard to push down.
Well,
I'm not a big fan of electronic instruments, and I don't make any quarrels about it, so they'll probably never hire me to do a commercial for it.
Well, I told you, if I ever hit the lottery, I'll buy you a Steinway.
Yes, that'll be fun. I'd like to have a Steinway. And let's have fun with Secret Agent Man. That comes to mind. Let's see if I can do it on here. I didn't like the way I do that. Let me do that again. There you go.
Very
Short
cool.
version of Secret Agent Man.
That was very cool.
But yeah, these keys are just so hard to push down when they're just not fun. But when in Rome, or in this case, Asaph Cafe, when at Asaph Cafe, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I really dig your '60s remakes like Fade to Black and Secret Agent Man, and
Oh, yeah.
I like that role of music you've been doing.
Yeah, well, let's have fun with Painted Black here. There you go.
Very cool.
Yeah, that sounds kind of classical there, but that sounds so much more fun on a regular real piano. And speaking of real pianos, we just did this new Lawrence Welk Show. I just shot the new Lawrence Welk Show. It's called Music with Asaph, a remake of the Lawrence Welk Show. I just shot it recently with the help of Louise Bundy, my hostess, and the Honorable Mayor John Ingen, and all the other guests that were on the program, and of course the MCAT studio. And we had a blast doing that. It was just such a fun to do that. This show is available on YouTube. You can see the entire show. Just put Music with Asaph, spelled A-S-A-P-H, a remake update of the Lawrence Welk Show. Put that in the bar on YouTube, and you'll see the entire show. Or just contact the MCAT studio at 542-6228 to order a copy of it on DVD. So it was fun to do this, and I'm attempting to do this nationally, as we talked about.
You'll love the bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah, we put all the bubbles on there. Speaking of bubbles, let's have fun with tiny bubbles. Short version of Tiny Bubbles by Don Ho.
Very well done.
Yeah, so well, thank you. So anyway, there's just so much fun things you can do with music.
How about Mama and Papa's?
Oh, sure. Okay, I'll give you my version of it. There you go, short version of, what is that, Papa's and Papa, California Dreaming.
It was kind of wintry and warm at the same time.
Mm-hmm. You know what I like to do? I have a, getting back to that Rachmaninoff, the Prelude in C-sharp minor, that's in the same key as that California Dreaming, so sometimes I'll take excerpts of Rachmaninoff and put it together something like this. Since they're in the same key. See? And so on.
That was cool. That was
yeah,
cool.
just mix up parts of Prelude and C sharp minor with California Dream. I call it Mamas and the Papas and Rachmaninoff. So, and it'd take too long to do the whole thing as far as when I'm combining both of those songs. So I just save it for...
Rachmaninoff's Mom and Papa.
Yeah, so... But they're both in the same key, C sharp minor, so that's kind of cool. And I used to watch the Mamas and Papas when I was a little boy growing up, and I was a big fan of, what's her name, Cass Elliot?
Yeah, Cass. Big Cass.
Yeah, she could sing.
Oh, yeah, that girl had lungs.
Yeah, she could sing, so...
I'm glad you invited me today. I'm having a lot of fun.
Well, we're going to do part 2 of this show as soon as we finish here, and we're going to go to the other cafe set and continue and pick up where we left off.
Cool.
And just do some more talking and playing. But again, ladies and gentlemen, we still have some time. If you want to see the new Lawrence Welk Show, it's called Music with Asaph. All you have to do is just go on YouTube and put Music with Asaph, ASAPH, a remake update of the Lawrence Welk Show, and you'll be able to see the entire show. And I have to thank the MCAT studio for making that possible, and the Missoula Cultural Council, and all the other organizations I don't have time to mention at this point that made that show possible. And like I mentioned, I'm attempting to make this show national. There's a lot of talented people in Missoula alone.
Oh, yeah. And it was pretty well produced too. I really admire the work that you've done there. I mean,
well, I can't take credit for it. I mean, it was
well,
MCAT
and
yeah.
U of M, and they helped. The studio helped a lot.
Ron
I mean,
Scholl he's the editor, and he just did a fantastic job.
It's cool how you got the mayor in there too.
Yeah, we know when I went to City Hall, I thought they were going to turn me down. I went over there and set up an appointment to see the mayor, and I hadn't met him once before, so. I said, my name's Asaph Adonai, and I'm doing a new television show, which is a remake of the Lawrence Welk Show, and I'd like to invite you on this program. And I thought he was going to say no. But no, he cleared his schedule. He said, I'll be there. Just tell me when. I said, you pick the day. He picked the day in his office, and so I said, that's going to be the day we're going to tape it. Because I had to give him priority as far as...
Oh, he's busy.
Yeah, as far as his schedule. I told him, pick the day. I called everybody, said, we're taping on this day, which turned out to be September 29th. Which is on a Monday morning. So we shot it at the Governor Ballroom, Florence Hotel. And then a month later, which was October 29th, it aired for the first time here on the MCAT channel. And then they eventually posted on the computer. So anyway.
It's pretty exciting. It's very cool, I think.
Yeah. It took me 3 months to prepare this Lawrence Welk Show. I had to write the script. I had to design the set. I had to get the grant for it. Yeah. Thanks to Missoula Cultural Council and MCAT. And, you know, there's a lot of work.
Hey, chasing down the mayor isn't easy either.
Yeah, well, it would have just gone another direction if the mayor had not been able to do it, but he was a good sport.
Oh, he was a good sport, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I have to really thank the mayor, and it was fun. And what I'd like to do is, if this show gets picked up by NBC, I'd like to invite the governor for the, you know, the mayor too, and the governor for this national pilot, if I get this opportunity. So. So far, I heard from the Lawrence Welk Network. They contacted me. You know, the one in Oklahoma that does the real Lawrence Welk Show. Well, they just show the reruns, and I assume they're checking this new Lawrence Welk Show out. And I also heard from CBS Up to the Minute in New York. You know, Anne-Marie Green, the reporter. Well, one of their reporters contacted me from CBS Up to the Minute, and also PBS is looking at this too. So. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. We'll just see.
Well, prayers to you. I'll
actually,
prayers for you.
Yeah, there are a lot of prayers for real. I heard from a ministry called Focus on the Family. I don't know if you're familiar with them or not. Well, they contacted me, and they're watching the show. I'm very humble, and they advised me to keep it clean.
Of course.
And I'm not trying to pick on anyone when I say that. I understand where they're coming from, because like when you watch the music shows, the award shows, everybody's half dressed. They're popping out of their clothes, or they're swearing at their audience, or you know, like when they do concerts. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong. I'm just saying that's the style. But Focus on the Family asked me to keep it clean.
Right.
And that makes sense. You want a show where you can have, like, say, a 5-year-old grandchild watching.
Of course, it's public television.
Well, just even if it's on NBC, keep it clean.
Right.
And so that's the goal that I have for this new Lawrence Welk Show. And I want to keep it in style with the original Lawrence Welk Show.
And being a gentleman is in now. And
That's-
they're very hard to find, and you seem to be quite the gentleman.
Well, anyway, I just want to bring his show back to life and and just keep it in that style. But the only difference is we're doing more modern music. And then if I get to a point where I can get a band like Lawrence Welk had,
Oh, of course.
we'll do more modern stuff. Like you can do a big band version of Neil Diamond. I can arrange all that. I know how to
I
do
dig
that.
Neil Diamond. I wish he'd come to Missoula.
Yeah. Yeah, Neil Diamond, if you're watching, come to Missoula.
I'll buy a ticket.
Yeah, well, let's have fun with Neil Diamond here. Classical version. But who knows? Maybe Neil Diamond will come to Missoula one day. Maybe he'll see this. Who knows? And you can stay at my home, Mr. Diamond, if you see this and you come to Missoula.
If Sir Paul McCartney can come here, certainly Neil Diamond can come here.
Yeah, maybe this show might launch it off and somebody will say, hey, let's get Neil Diamond here to Missoula. He can
Wouldn't that
stay
be
with
cool? You do a
Asaph.
duet with...
Oh, I would love to.
That'd be awesome,
my goodness,
man.
yeah.
That'd be a dream come true.
You know, Danny Thomas, do you remember him?
Yep.
The comedian?
Yep.
Well, my sister and I went to Vegas once, and I got to meet him in real life. And the first thing I asked him was, you need a musician to back you up, call me. And you know what he said? He says, well, you know, they don't do things like that much anymore. They usually have like the little house bands and that sort of thing. But I actually got to meet Danny Thomas. This was like, what, maybe 30 years ago or more. Maybe even more than that.
That's cool.
And that's just a pleasant memory I have of Danny Thomas. And his show, Make Room for Daddy, was a pretty cool show.
Yeah.
They still show it, I think, on MeTV once
On
in a while.
MeTV. I love MeTV.
And, you know, when I talked to him, there was a particular episode that I mentioned. And he had this lady with him. I assume maybe that was the missus or whoever he was with or an agent or whoever it was. And the lady looked at me and goes, you still remember that episode? I said, yeah. It was the episode with the trumpet player, Harry James. He was playing Flight of the Bumblebee on Make Room for Daddy. He was teaching Danny's kid how to play the trumpet. And, you know, kids can't play the trumpet, worth beans. So Harry James picks up his trumpet. He starts playing Flight of the Bumblebee. It was so cool to
On the
see
trumpet,
that.
yeah.
On the trumpet.
Yeah.
So when I got to meet Danny Thomas, I mentioned that. I said, hey, I saw Harry James on your show playing Flight of the Bumblebee. And that lady looked at me like, wow, I can't believe you would remember something like that. I said, yeah, I got a really good memory when it comes to something like that.
Well, you don't look old enough either, so...
Well, thank you.
That was a long time ago. Good living.
I don't have control over the aging process, actually. It's just the grace of God.
Amen, amen, amen. I agree.
Well, I just turned 56. I am 56 years old. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am 56 years old. I just turned 56 October 26.
Well,
So-
you look 20 years younger than that.
Thank you. I hope they keep it that way, or maybe the good Lord keep it that way. I don't like wake up one day all wrinkled.
Look at the bright side. When you're 70, you look 50.
There you go. That's what well, we'll see. If I live that long, we'll see. But anyway, my Danny Thomas memory and Harry James, that's pretty cool. Now, I never met Harry James, but I did see him in concert when I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school, and I actually got to see him playing his trumpet in real life. That was pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they don't have a lot of trumpet players out there in the world these days.
No, it's kind of a lost art, isn't it?
Probably, if you're a trumpet player, I suppose. Well, they don't seem to have a lot of piano players out there.
No.
Stuff, so-
No, everything's electronic now,
Yeah, and...
including your piano. Which
yeah.
You don't get the highs, you don't get the lows, but
Oh, well.
oh well, you get a good show.
Yeah, and we got about 5 more minutes left on this part 1 of this show, and we're going to go to the other cafe after we set it up. But I've just had a pretty fun life, I think. I'm not rich, obviously, no, but it's been fun. I've pretty much got to do what I've always wanted to do with my life, which is be a musician. And the funny thing about that is, people freak out when you want to do anything new or pursue a dream
Chase
or a
your
goal.
dream?
Yeah. People just, and I'm not trying to pick on folks, but you're not going to fall off the edge of the world pursuing your dream.
Jiminy Cricket once said, how can your dreams come true if you don't have a dream?
You know how I got started? My career started at Loyola Marymount University in California. I was 21 years old at the time, and I did all their music functions at that school, and I played the national anthem for their basketball games. And that is how I got started. And 5 months later, I met Bumps Blackwell, who was Little Richard's manager. And
Oh, wow.
he invited me to live with him, and I studied with him for 3 years.
Wow.
That's how I got started.
That's impressive.
And he, well, it's on the Wikipedia page now. You can look it up.
Huh?
And he passed away right before I signed the contract with him at the time.
Oh.
But I had the knowledge from studying 3 years. I went to Las Vegas when I was 26 and played with Pat Guidry and the High Rollers. I don't know if you know him or not.
No.
And then I played for the Salvation Army for 12 years, and I did a lot of fun things, all kinds of fun things. And it never would have happened if I hadn't got on that Greyhound bus and went to Loyola, in my case.
Mm-hmm.
Because originally I was going to go to Disneyland and try to get a job there, and I failed to get the audition. But when the Lord closes one door, He opens another.
Amen.
And the thing is, people should follow their dreams.
Exactly.
You don't have to be world famous. The
or
biggest,
rich.
Yeah, the biggest misconception about music is they think if you're not the leader, like say Laura Branigan or Annie Lennox, if you're not the star, that you're not working. That's so false.
Well, you got to start somewhere, and it takes years to get to where they're at. They didn't just wake up.
I
one night and
realize that,
become
but
famous.
even if you're just a regular musician, like let's say you watch the Jerry Lewis Telethon, you don't know those people from Adam and that orchestra. And I assure you they're making a decent living.
Hmm?
Or even like the Lawrence Welk Show, for example. So you don't have to be a star to be
No.
a working musician.
No.
And that's the misconception. They think if you're not famous, you're not working. And that's false.
Well, I've been in the music business for going on the better part of 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never made a dime at it, but I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I wouldn't trade 1 minute of it for anything.
Now, in my case, yes, I do get paid quite a bit. But the thing is, I'm not what you call worldwide famous or anything, but I've had a fun life because I followed my dreams.
Exactly. You have to.
So I would encourage people, follow your dreams.
Because-
If you want to be an artist, like drawing artist, or, a dancer, Broadway, whatever, just do it.
Whatever you're blessed with, chase it.
Yeah, that's it. If you want to work at a Walmart, be the best worker at Walmart you could be.
Exactly.
Everybody has their calling. And some people work in the 9-to-5 system. There's not a thing wrong with that. And some don't. You got to do what works for you. That's how I look at it. And just you're not going to be eating ramen noodles for the rest of your life being a musician.
No.
I assure you. I mean, this jacket I'm wearing, this is an Italian jacket made in Italy. So you're not going to fall off the edge of the world.
No. No. If you have a roof over your head and you're fed and you're happy in your heart at what you do, you're a very blessed
Well, that's
person.
what the New Testament tells you, to be content with what you got.
Yep. Because you're not really working for anybody else but someone else, which is God.
Yeah. So, just have fun. Just have fun with your life and do whatever it is you want to do.
Yep.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for this part 1 of Asaph Cafe. We're going to sign off, and we're going to set up the other set for part 2. And again, my guest is Brad Boshart, and he's going to be with me on the second part of this in a few moments. And again, before I go, if you want to see this brand new Lawrence Welk Show, Music with Asaph, a remake of the Lawrence Welk Show, it's now on YouTube, and make sure you put all that information in the bar. You'll be able to see the entire show. And this has been a delight.
It has been a pleasure. I really appreciate you inviting
we're
me.
going to close and set up the other set here. And so until our next show, ladies and gentlemen, Maranatha.